What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pretty to Be Unhappy. For those of you who might just be joining us, welcome. This is a podcast all about anyone who is on their journey to find happiness, anyone that might be in a healing journey or anything like that. You are more than welcome here. This is a very open and safe space. The point of this podcast is to create a community for people to start talking and shedding a light on some of the taboo subjects and things that we all deal with on the day-to-day that maybe some of us aren't talking about. So we welcome anyone and everyone, and I'm so happy to have you guys here. So this week, we have an extremely special guest, one of my dearest friends, a best friend, truly, honestly, and I will get into this a little bit more, one of my soulmates. Truly,
one of it's like 5 minutes in.
Truly one of my soulmates, Nina. She's my best friend. I'm so happy to have Nina on here. We've been through a lot.
A lot of things.
We've been through it. And something that I love so much about Nina is her fierce independence and her resilience and her empathy. So we'll hear all about it. And it's funny because, you know, between Nina, Jocelyn, our other best friend, and myself, it's kind of like you don't see one of us without at least one of the other. If you know them, you know me. If you know me, you know them. It's also wild because we are so different too.
Yeah.
Our paths have been so different. But I think that together, we've really made it through some of the toughest times. If you guys have listened to episode 1, which I hope that you have, because that's a very important episode, kind of sets the tone for the whole podcast. I honestly can truly say that I might not be sitting here right now without Nina and Jocelyn and the rest of my best friends. So I am so grateful and thankful to have them, their strength and support. But Nina, too, has also been through quite a healing journey and has had some really intense life experiences. Some things that, you know, I've wondered why her, but she is strong and she's handled anything and everything that has been thrown at her with grace. I am so honored to call you one of my best friends.
I love you.
So we are here to chat. One of the biggest things that I want to touch on through Nina's story is that she's a single mom. She is a single mom of two of the best kids ever. And I want to get into that because I know some of you out there listening are single moms. You can relate to some of the trials and tribulations and hard times, and to kind of see this from someone else's perspective, especially for those maybe that aren't single moms, or for me personally, I don't have kids. So there are certain things that I can't quote unquote relate to that Nina goes through, but I'm still there for her as a support and just as she's there for me. So Nina, can you just first and foremost, just give us, I know that I kind of just went on and a bit about you.
I know, it was great. And the more you talk, the less I have to know. I'm just kidding.
If you could just kind of give us a little bit about yourself, some of the top line details and such, and then we'll kind of get into the backstory and stuff like that.
Hi, I am Nina. I'm 32. I have 2 kids, 12 and 3. I'm a single mom, and I own my own business, and I also am a full-time paralegal, and I own my business. I'm a photographer. Yeah, and I guess life has been crazy over the last few years. But like Amanda said, honestly, I don't think that I could have made it through without our friendship and without a lot of my friendships. So that's really important. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's just a little about me.
Love it. So, okay, let's start because I feel like you have been going through this really intense healing journey and everything, probably starting from the point that Peyton
Yes.
was born.
Yes, I was very young when I had her. I was 19. Just being a brand new mom at still a teenager was incredibly difficult. And I think that the last almost 13 years of her life has like really shaped who I am as a person and has truly changed me and made an impact.
Absolutely. So now I kind of want to go back, take us back, if you can, to that moment when you realized that you were going to be a mom and all of thoughts. Because, like you said, you were very young. And what were you, 20?
I was 19.
19.
I had her only like shy of a few weeks of my 20th birthday.
So
I found out
how'd
when
that
I was
feel?
found out I was like 19 years old. It was scary. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified. I was living on my own at the time with like friends. We, I had roommates and I thought I knew everything and I obviously didn't. And it was my first year of college. So I was like trying to go to school, just didn't know what to expect. But I did have a lot of family support. So that was really nice. And I also didn't know my partner for very long at the time that that I found out I was pregnant. So that was also another scary thing was what's my future going to look like? Am I going to finish school? Am I going to be a good mom because I can barely take care of myself?
Well, you're 19. Like
I was-
and that's the thing. Like I've talked about this before. It's like at 18, when you graduate high school and they ship you off to college or they ship you off into the world and stuff, like you're still a
Yeah.
baby. Like
They're
you're
like-
still young.
It's like they think you go from young to like, oh, I'm a grown up now.
I'm a
like,
grown-up.
Actually, I'm
No.
not. I'm still eating cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I have no idea what I'm doing.
That's like when those memes where it's like I look back when I was in elementary school and my teachers were like in their 20s and 30s and I was like, wow, they're adults. They have their life together. It's like, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So it took a lot of like, I had to grow up really fast. And while my other friends were partying in college and doing all these things, I was preparing a nursery and trying to figure out what I was going to do for work. So that was definitely a major like shift in my life.
Wow. And you handled it with such grace and so beautifully.
Thank you. I don't feel like I did.
I feel like a lot of moms would say that though. Like I feel like moms, you are your harshest
You're
critic.
doing the best
Stop
you
it.
can,
You are
ladies.
amazing. You guys are superheroes. You're doing the best that you can.
That's really what it was. It was like at the time I was just doing the best that I could. And thankfully I had a ton of family support.
Yeah.
My mom owned a daycare at the time and it was like,
That's
my God, it couldn't have gotten any better than that.
Yeah.
And then I was still able to continue with schooling. I had some gaps here and there, but all in all, like I had a lot of support from a lot of people. So that was very helpful.
So you were, you had Peyton but thankfully for your support system and stuff, you were able to go to school and do that part of your life. Now, I know that you did say you hadn't known your partner for very long. Obviously, I know Nina's partner, so we're not going to act like I don't, but I do. And I think that was also kind of another obstacle too, because, you guys were also getting to know each other, but too, like, what was that like? Because that truly was kind of the start of you being a single mom. How did that relationship kind of blossom? Like what kind of happened with that? Just so that our listeners know, did you guys start together? Did you not? Like how did you guys decide to parent? And what did that look like?
We were both very young. So he was also like the same age as me. Actually, probably I think he was a little younger. I think he was 18 when he found out. But it was really hard, obviously. And we both had a lot of growing up to do. So we tried our best. Obviously, it didn't work out. I'm a single mom now. But it didn't work out. And for a lot of reasons we can get into. But all in all, I mean, we each had a lot of growing up to do. And we each had things to learn about each other and struggles that we both kind of went through that kind of impacted our relationship with each other and impacted our family life. So it was best that we just separated at the time. But yeah, it was a really hard, what is it, 12 years?
12 years.
12 years being a parent in that aspect. So, yeah.
If you don't mind, I would like to dig deeper into that if you're okay with it.
Yes.
Okay. I know that throughout at least the last, I would say 10 years, I would say it was maybe a little bit longer, you really wanted to keep your family together.
Yes.
You
Tried very hard.
tried like hell to keep your family together and to provide two parents for Peyton. At the time, it was just Peyton. And do you mind getting into a little bit of that journey? Because I think also that what has transpired over the last 10 years, I think, has really shaped who you have become and who you've had to become.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. We had a lot of experience with like addiction and things of that nature. And it was incredibly difficult because having addiction in your relationship can kind of just tear you apart. Everybody goes through their own things. I cannot speak for anybody else's experience, but for my experience on that side of things, it was really difficult, like to see somebody that I care about struggle
Absolutely.
in life. And you want to help and you want to wish them the best and you want to do all the things that you possibly can to take care of your kids and take care of everything. But it's really difficult to find that line where it's like, all right, well, I'm taking care of me and I have to take care of these children and I can't do everything. There comes a time where you have to make choices. And my choice led me to here, to right now, to where I decided that I had to take care of myself in a way that meant leaving that person behind, right? So, and I've dealt with this in my family, literally all around me. My family has had experience with addiction and things like that. So it's really difficult to navigate through that and to still have compassion while going through all the motions of figuring life out and the hurt and the pain and the anxiety and all of the things. So it was really hard to go through that and see him struggle with that.
I also, because I know that, we've talked about this and I I can't relate. So it's so much easier for me to say things. And I know like we've had conversations in our friendship of like, well, why can't you just this? Why can't we just
Mhm.
cut him out? Why can't we blah blah? And it's like, and you're their mom and that's their dad. And so that's something that you've taught me of like, listen, like it's different when you become a parent.
Yeah.
And you really want him to be a part of their lives and for them to have their dad in their life. And if you don't mind, I would like to kind of talk because I know that we've had conversations about you almost feeling responsible
Yes.
for his sobriety. Can you kind of take us through that
Yeah,
and
it's
that
it's
journey?
definitely a complicated thing because you have all of these emotions. You go through resentment and anger and I feel like honestly all of these stages of grief and unfortunately in my mind I was mourning a person that was living.
Right.
I was in mourning of somebody that was alive. And that was a weird thing because while you don't want to believe all the terrible things that can happen, you get sucked into this reality of what actually is and what could happen. And it kind of just like takes over your life. So, being, especially somebody that's in a relationship with somebody that is struggling with addiction, it's like, it's like you start to analyze everything that you're doing and you start to put their decisions on you. And you start to think, well, if I am this way, maybe they won't do this. Or if I'm this way, then maybe it'll make it better. And you start to like accept a lot of that responsibility for their behavior or for whatever they're doing. And you try to prevent it. And that might have been what my life had been like for a while, was just trying to like hold things together, be the glue. And this can be true for any kind of relationship, any kind of wrongdoing that's happening in any kind of relationship. You want to be the glue that is holding it together until you realize like you can't be that glue anymore. You have to let go and let whatever is going to happen happen. So that was really hard, and like realizing or convincing myself that I am not responsible for their sobriety. And the same can be said for other members of my family that also struggle through this thing. It's like you want to be there because you love this person and you want to be there for them, but you have to realize that you are not a responsible party in their decision making. The only way I was able to actually work through that was through therapy and through EMDR. But yeah, so that was definitely a difficult thing to come to realize, was that I have no part in this. I am only a person that cares,
Mhm.
and I am only a person that can offer support, but only as far as it doesn't destroy me.
Yeah. 'Cause I know and I do wanna get into the therapy and EMDR because 'cause I'm sure that a lot of people don't know what that is. But before we do, because I know that we have talked, I feel like a lot of people in your position have almost hesitated on, 1, moving forward with their lives because they don't want to even if, like, you and your partner are no longer together, but they're struggling with addiction, you don't wanna set them off. You're afraid of, like, telling them something like, I remember when you started dating again, you started to become serious with your now boyfriend. W what if this puts him on a bad path? What if this sets him off again and he relapses? But it's one of those things where it's like, it's so hard not to take that responsibility, but you do almost feel
Mhm.
responsible for that.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't, but you do, and it's like this, like,
It's
push
this
and
constant back and
pull.
forth. It's a constant back and forth, and I would be lying if I didn't say that those things still cross my mind. It's more of, does it have an effect on me now? It
Right.
doesn't. And it took a lot of time and a
It's like
lot
10
of
years.
almost like retraining
Yeah.
myself to be like, no, like this is not on you.
Yeah.
And nothing is on you. And thankfully, like he's doing well, like everything is
Yes.
great, like
We should mention that
bless.
he's doing very well.
Very well. And recovery is possible, guys. Like really it is. Um but yeah, like at the time it was difficult, and
Yeah.
now it's like, I mean, we're in such a good place. Like we're
Yeah.
co-parenting so well. Like he's doing amazing. He's working. Like
Yeah.
he's doing everything that he's being the dad that I know he wants to be, and that's
But
super wonderful.
it was a rough
It
road
was it
to
was a
get
rough road,
to
and
get here.
it's a struggle. It really
Yeah.
is, and it really is. It's a struggle for anybody, for the
Yeah.
person in it, and for the people that are around them that
Yeah.
love them.
Can you talk a little bit just because I know that this is probably so relatable for, unfortunately, a lot of people. As like, at least in the beginning of his recovery, when you were introducing the children back into his life and you guys were taking those steps and because you obviously it was hard. The trust was broken. The trust was broken, and your number one priority are your kids
Mhm.
and their safety and their well-being. So, can you kind of tell us and talk to us a little bit about, perhaps even like that anxiety that maybe you had felt and what that felt like when you started to almost give these, I don't want to call them privileges, but like instilling more trust back into this? Like, how did you get to that point?
It's really just I like a lot of communication, and like what we're both comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because as much as I want my children to be safe, he wants his children to be safe and in a good place, right? And that's one thing that I will never have bad to say about him, is like
Yeah.
he always wants the best for his kids, and that is truly a blessing when it comes to co-parenting, because you can be with somebody who, one, doesn't want to be a part of their kid's life, or two, just doesn't give a crap. So
Yeah.
like, bless. Like
Yeah.
he cares so much, which was great, but it was also really hard to navigate that. We're like, all right, well, like, well, what feels good,
Right.
what feels good in this moment.
Right.
um and it was just really just boils down to communication,
Yeah.
how we're both feeling, what we're both thinking, just kind of like finding a good space for everyone involved, which
Yeah.
is obviously, I could deal with a lot of anxiety, but it's also about me managing myself. And it's about
Yeah.
me realizing where my boundaries are, where like maybe I'm overstepping, or maybe I'm overthinking, or maybe this, or maybe I'm underthinking.
Right.
It's like finding that line where everybody is comfortable and is safe and enjoying their time.
Yeah. All right. So, if you could kind of describe, because as we have heard, there's been a lot of up and downs in those first, let's say, 10 years. And I say 10 years because Nate is now 3. So, like, I feel like there's a lot that went on in the past 3 years that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But kind of those first 10 years, how did that affect you as a parent? How did that affect you as a 19 to 29-year-old woman? How did that affect you as far as your career and building your own business and things like that? So, like, if you could just kind of describe what those 10 years were like for you, and like, how did you make it? How did you kind of survive as like this strong, resilient single mom?
Oh, I
What was that
appreciate
like?
you calling me a strong, resilient single
Absolutely. No,
mom.
you are.
I would be lying if I said those 10 years were great, because they honestly were not. I mean, it was probably the hardest experience of my entire life. And I felt isolated, honestly, for a lot of it.
Really?
I did. And while I still went
Why?
out, just dealing with the situation I was dealing with
Mhm.
and trying to take care of my kids at the same time, it felt very isolating. I knew I
Yeah.
wasn't alone. I knew that I had people that I can depend on and
Yeah.
people that I can call. But emotionally, it felt isolating because in my head, there was nobody on this planet that understood what I was exactly going through.
Yeah. I feel you.
So while I could confide in friends and call you and call
Yeah.
Joss and call whoever, and there were plenty of friends that I have called and could call and stayed at their house or whatever the case may be, it still felt very emotionally isolating. So it took a toll. Like I was heavily depressed for a long time. I didn't feel like that I was the best mom that I could possibly be because I was so hyper focused on other things. And in the midst of all of that, I managed to finish school. I don't know how I did that. I was about to curse, but I don't know if I could do that on
Because
the
she's a
pod.
superhero.
I managed to like get my bachelor's
Total
degree by
superhero.
some sort of magic. And I ended up starting a whole business, which I still don't know how I did that.
It's incredible.
But I feel like I did these things because I wanted normalcy so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted this feeling of being normal, or maybe I didn't know it at the time, but maybe I was actively taking the steps that I needed to take to get out of where I was. So it was incredibly difficult trying to navigate that, trying to be a good mom and be a good partner at the time and figure everything out.
And be a good student.
And be a good student and be a
also
good business
work
owner.
and be a good employee.
And
be
serve
a good...
my clients. And
Yeah.
maybe also I did those things to focus on, you know, other than my life. Who knows, right? All I know is it was difficult. But I will say if I did not do those things, I probably would still be in the same boat. Yeah. If I didn't take those smaller steps or bigger steps, I'd probably be in the same place.
I feel like too, when people talk about healing, it's not these big grand steps, these big grand gestures, these big grand anything. It's like, it's the tiny little changes that you make every day that begin to add up.
Yeah.
Like you are like 1/10 of a better person. Like
it's
every
small
4
steps
days.
over
you
years.
know what I mean? It's like wildly small steps that like add up. And I know that you understand that.
Yeah. It's definitely, it took years.
Yeah.
It took actual years of focusing on me and deciding that I needed to focus on my kids or focus on me or focus on whatever.
100%.
And it was years, literally. And small decisions that I made for myself, whether it be my small choice to go to therapy or my small choice to start going to the gym or my small choice. I mean, starting a business is not a small choice, but you know what I mean? Like little things that I have done throughout the years. And it wasn't like you take a step forward and then you take 8 million steps forward. It was like you take 2 steps forward and like 1 leap back and 1 step forward and then another leap back. And it's not.
I agree. And we talk about that on this pod where it's like, it's not just like an upward, like, woo, oh my God, I feel good. I feel good. I feel great. I feel awesome. I feel amazing. Wow.
It's like,
there's like peaks and valleys and it's just like, it's wild.
Yeah.
So because I do want to get into therapy, but I think that it's important to kind of say, like, what was, because 10 years is a long time
Mhm.
to be dealing with this back and forth of this emotional roller coaster. And I know that any and everything that you did was for the good of your kids and, trying to give them everything that they deserve. What was kind of your turning point of being like, this isn't the life that I want to lead anymore? Not even partnership wise with your children's father, but like just your life wise. What was kind of the turning point for you?
I would say a couple of years ago, something happened. An incident occurred, and it kind of just like was a wake up call for me that my kids needed some sort of stability and safety that only I could provide at that moment. And it was really devastating. You guys were there.
Yes.
You and Jocelyn were there
Yes.
for it. I don't want to go into detail about what it was because it's a very private matter, but it definitely woke me up. And I'll say at that moment, I decided that like
This
it's
ain't
it's
it.
gotta be me. It's gotta be the kids. I had to make a choice, and it was an incredibly difficult choice because it's like choosing, especially because I'm such a empathetic person and I am the kind of person that, hears a story and wants to help or like wants to be there for my friends or and sometimes that's too much to a fault, because then that causes people to walk all over you. But that's another topic. But yeah, so it basically just came down to me having to decide, all right, well, like what kind of parent am I going to be?
Yeah.
And it wasn't about anybody else at that moment. It's like, what kind of parent am I going to be? And where am I going to bring my kids?
Yeah.
How am I going to protect them? How am I going to be a good mom to them? And there were two things that came up for me. One, making sure they're in a safe place. And two, making sure that I'm happy
Yeah.
because I spent a lot of my life believing that I could take the brunt of all the force for them. I could take on all the pain. I can take on all of this. And as parents, you want to do that. You don't want your kids to feel these real things of the world. You don't want your kids to feel pain. You don't want them to feel hurt and to cry and to wonder things.
And also, not to cut you off, as an outside person looking in, I do feel like you are also taking the brunt of the pain and the hurt for other people as well outside of your kids, because that's the type of person that you are.
Mhm.
Like, you're a very empathetic person and you are taking kind of the hurt and the brunt and the pain of, your partner, of like your family, of your you know what I mean? And it's like at some point, like like you can't do that forever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep, and I would agree. I was definitely I'm a feel everything for everyone kind of
Yeah.
person, and it was destroying me. It was really destroying me, and I had to learn. I mean, also a big percentage of that is accountability. I wasn't holding myself accountable for my own life, right?
Mm.
And I got into a situation, that I was like I just became really tired of being the person that things were happening to.
Mm.
That like I didn't feel like I had a choice in anything.
Yeah.
This is my life. This is the card I was dealt. This is what's happening. Well, I guess this is it. That's where I was mentally. I was like, well, this is my life and this is what I just
Yeah.
have to deal with for the forever. If this is what it is, this is what it is. And I had to, and through therapy and all that stuff, like I really started to hold myself accountable for my own choices, for staying in a situation that wasn't serving me, for staying in a place where I wasn't being the best mom and I wasn't making the best choices and I wasn't choosing myself first.
Yeah.
So, and that was a really hard conversation. Nobody wants to put blame on themselves.
No.
It's really hard to look in the mirror and be like, you're choosing.
Yeah.
You're choosing this. You're choosing it. And thank God I have friends that are mirrors because I honestly don't think I would have made it through if I didn't have you and Joss to give me those hard truths, to cry with me, you know, and to tell me like, you're not doing what you should be doing. This is not the way that it's supposed to be. And I would have never opened my eyes and been able to see that or see a life other than this if you guys didn't help me do that. So
it's one of those things that we all do it.
Yeah.
We are our harshest critics. It's one of those things where it's like, I wish that you could see what I see. But then again, it's like opposite. And I'm like, but I don't see what you see in me. You know what I mean?
We are all just reflecting to each other. That's literally what it is. We are all responsible for reflecting what we see in each other.
Yes,
and that's
100%.
And that's what happened. So it took a combination of so many things 100%. For me to be like, Nina, you have a choice here.
And finally, and it's like, after 10 years, you're tired, man.
Yeah.
You're fucking tired. And here's the thing, like, we haven't all been in your situation, but like, we've all allowed things to happen longer probably than they should. You know, you're in a different situation because you want to keep your family together. You're a mom. You want to keep your daughter happy and your son happy. And I get that. I understand. And then it's one of those things though, where you were like, listen, I'm not keeping my daughter and my son happy in this situation because I'm not happy. And I know that you weren't. And I think that's really honorable. And I really commend you for taking that step. And, you know, it's really scary when your children or child isn't in a safe situation and you're like, this is it. Like, this will never occur again. And, you know, as a parent, you are their protector. And like, you are supposed to keep them safe. And it's like, and I get that. That was kind of your point where you were like, nope, absolutely not, never again. So I know that was a big occurrence and that was kind of your turning point. So can you kind of talk to me now as we're on our healing journey together about kind of the steps that you've taken since then? And like we said, it's not big leaps of like progress, right? It's small little wins. It's small changes throughout, you know, your day. And it's been probably what, like 2 years now, like 3 years now, where you've really kind of were like, nope, we're making changes like this. We're making big changes.
I think it was about 2 years when I decided to start making my internal changes.
So can you kind of take us through that timeline? And what changes you made and why you decided?
I had went through a situation where I couldn't live in the place where I was living anymore. And shout out to Amanda. She fostered my dog while I was in between housing.
My baby. The good boy. The best little boy that there ever even was in the whole world.
So I had a situation where I couldn't live where I was living anymore. I really needed to like save money and, you know, take care of me and the kids and like do whatever I had to do. And thankfully I had a family that was like willing to take me in and like help me out for those few months, and Amanda and my cousin who had fostered my 2 dogs.
Strong support system.
Yes. Strong support system, guys. Find people in your corner that are willing to help you through things. And also you are willing to help them through things.
100%.
Both ways. So it was honestly like a whole year that I knew that I needed to make a change, but I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, what am I going to do? So my small steps were, you know, like trying to figure out my living situation. And then I decided to go to therapy. And around the same time I decided to go to therapy, I decided to go back to the gym and start a workout routine and just kind of like get a little healthier. I was heavily depressed. And especially like seasonal.
We know all about that here.
And especially like seasonal depression too. Like it was in the midst of winter.
Worst.
Where sad is really a big thing.
Yeah.
And
sad is trending in the winter.
And it was just really, it was my head was not on right. So I was like, all right, I need to do something. So I signed up for BetterHelp.com, guys. It's really good. I promise.
Shout out all your therapists.
Shout out to all your therapists. So I signed up for BetterHelp. I had like a free like 6-month code that somebody had shared with me. I was like, this is beautiful.
Thank you.
So I had signed up for BetterHelp, and then I had decided to go back to the gym. And then when I connected with my therapist, she had heard, you know, my history or whatever. And she had suggested EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So basically, it's very similar to hypnosis, but it's not hypnosis.
Yeah. Can you go into that? Because when you told me about that, I was like, how, like, in my mind, I'm like, how could that help? But I know someone else who has recently started it, and I told them about your story about how successful it was. I
Yeah.
go, I don't understand it, but my friend Nina did it and she loved it.
Yeah,
So
it
can
was
you just like
honestly
break
when
that
I
down?
heard about it, I was like,
Yeah, it's like
I
kind of
was
like,
like,
what?
I was like, I don't know if it's for
I don't
me.
know.
And also it was all virtual. Like I had seen a therapist when I was pregnant with my son, and oh God, it was awful. I won't name that therapist, but it was not a good experience. And it was in person.
No.
And it was right around when the pandemic hit. So like,
Ugh.
okay, I get it. But my experience wasn't good. So initially I had this like bad taste in my mouth about therapy because my therapist was literally falling asleep as I was talking to him.
No.
I'm not kidding. It was really terrible.
Oh, that's awful.
He was overworked, poor guy. I almost wanted to give him therapy. I was like, do you want to talk about it?
So she's really empathetic. I'd be like,
like, are you okay? Do you want to talk about it?
Nina was about to therapy this guy.
Did you have a rough day?
That's why we get along so well.
Yes.
We're so opposite. I'd be so mad. She's like,
balance,
are you
baby.
okay? I'd be mad. I'd be like, wake up.
Wake up. Yeah, so it was anyway, I signed up for BetterHealth and they matched me with this really great therapist. So it was all virtual. So she told me about EMDR. I had never heard of it before. So when she told me about it, I was like, oh, a little skeptical. She was like, listen, like, just try it. If you don't like it, we don't have to continue. Like, you can just make the call as you go. And I was like, all right, sounds good. So we basically did like this rapid eye movement. It was virtual. We did this like program where you just take rapid eye movement and you think about traumatic experiences that you've had. And she kind of like walks you through it and you reprocess them. So when you experience trauma, your brain does not file it correctly. So where you file regular memories, a traumatic event, you don't file correctly, which is why it has such an impact on you. So I had PTSD, diagnosed PTSD and diagnosed insomnia from my experiences. So that's essentially why I decided to go to therapy, because my insomnia was just like, I was not sleeping.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't sleeping, and that's when I decided to go. So basically it just takes you through any kind of traumatic experience that you've had and just helps you to go through it, maybe think of new things that you were feeling, and it just desensitizes you to that memory.
So does the therapist basically like reenact it, like voice the experience?
They're mostly like voice guiding you and asking you questions. So so whether the rapid eye movement, she would tell me, all right, I want you to think of like something from your childhood was like a really difficult experience for you, or like whatever. I don't really know. I don't know how specifics. So then the prompt would go and I would do my eye movements.
Can you explain though the prompt in that?
It's like
I don't think I understand.
I mean, there's various things that you can do, but for me on the screen, it was like a ball that was moving,
and you
fast,
had to follow. You had
back
to follow,
and I had to follow the ball with my eyes.
I would get dizzy.
Yeah.
Did you get dizzy?
No.
Is that weird?
I wasn't like dirty man.
I'd be like,
I was just like looking like my eyes, and it wasn't long. I don't.
Okay,
maybe
and
like
as
15 seconds or so.
Talking about, and you're talking about it. You're doing this app.
So she
rapid
asked
eye
me.
movement.
She asked me to think of an experience or like whatever question she asked me.
Yeah,
and it goes the ball. She's not talking through that eye movement.
Got it.
It's my eyes just moving, and then once the prompt is done, she'll ask me, "Okay, what came up for you? What came up in your brain as that movement was going on?" And then I'll say, something along the line, I remembered this part of the scenario, or like I remember feeling this. And then she'll go off of that. She'll like, all right, hold on to that feeling. And I want you to think of like whatever you thought about like that feeling, or like maybe another time that you felt that way, or something like that. And then the movement will go again. And then she'll say, okay, like what came up for you? I think I'm no therapist. I have no idea what her process was through this whole thing. But in my head, I'm like, all right, she's trying to desensitize me to it. So the more you think of things and the more you talk about it and the more you process it, it's like it stops to have that effect on you.
Yeah.
So I think I did maybe like 10 or 12 sessions of EMDR.
But it really helped.
It definitely helped my insomnia.
I love that.
I still have episodes here and there, but it helped my anxiety.
Good for you.
It helped a lot of things. And with the combination of talk therapy, it wasn't
Right.
just EMDR. It was a lot of talk therapy
Yeah.
on top of that. So
We
yeah,
love therapy
we
here.
love therapy. Hashtag we love therapy.
Therapy queens.
So it was basically just, and the big accountability. And she helped
Yeah.
me to hold myself accountable for my own decisions and my
Yes.
own part that I played in my unhappiness, because nobody wants to
Yes.
believe that they play a part in their own unhappiness, but we
Yes,
do.
we do. We do.
We do with everything that we do,
And
or
it does
everything that we
not-
don't do.
It does not excuse
Yeah.
anyone else's behavior towards us, which I want to say, because
Mhm.
I talked a lot about this in like my dating a narcissist episode. You know, it absolutely does not excuse their behavior, but like we can only control the way that we react towards people. We can't control
Mhm.
people. We can only control our reaction. And I played a part
Mhm.
in that unhappiness as well.
We can only control what we decide for ourselves.
Agreed.
Once we are aware of the behavior and aware of what is going on,
What we are allowing,
anything
to
after that,
happen.
we're actively
Yes.
choosing.
100%.
Anything after that.
And it's like, you know, what do you approve in your life and what don't you?
Mhm.
What do you allow in your life and what don't you? What behavior do you allow and what don't you? Like the way you allow people to treat you or not. I feel like too, that was a big breaking point for you, Nina, and a big turning point for you. You were like, you know what? I will not be treated this way anymore. I will not allow myself to be treated this way anymore as a partner, as a mom, as a anything. And that was huge.
And after a while, it wasn't even so much about how someone was treating me. It was more about, what do I want from my life?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, up until a certain point, you know,
Mhm.
whatever, people do things, whatever it is. But it was more about like, well, what do I want my life to look like?
Yeah.
Do I want this or do I want something else?
Right.
And that's
Right.
okay. I mean, something could be perfectly good for you, but if you don't want it, then you don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. So it just became a point where I'm like, all right, well, I actually don't want this life. And
Right.
I'm in my head,
I
for
want
some
something better.
reason, I didn't think I could choose another life. I thought,
Yeah.
no, this is life I'm dealt, and that's what I have to deal with. Until I started to realize, no, like you can choose something else. Girl, you're like 20-something years old. You could choose
and you're
a different
hot,
life.
and you can do whatever you want, and you're pretty. You're mad pretty, and you can do whatever you want. Anyone can. I love that. So, therapy, obviously, big part
Mhm.
of like your healing journey. What else? Like, what are some other things that you decided when you had this turning point? You were like, nope, this is not the way that I want my life to go. These are the steps. And what are some of those small changes that you made?
Definitely going to the gym. And I know we were going together. We were going together,
which
for
we
a
will be
while.
again soon.
Yes,
We're
we
getting
will.
back into our routine. New year, new us. We're getting back into our routine.
Definitely just honestly having the physical match my mental. It was like, all right, well, I'm working on this part. Well, I should be working on the other part as well.
Yeah.
So I just started to be a little bit more active and do things that I really enjoyed and spend more time with my kids and hung out with friends, or, you know, got myself also out of that isolation mentality.
Yeah.
Because in my head for so long, I was like, nobody understands me.
Yeah.
Nobody gets it. You know, like, and you kind of go through that. But I decided that I wanted to like be with my friends more. And I was just going down the list of, all right, well, what makes me happy right now?
Yeah.
What's gonna make me happy? Myself, sure. Physical activity, sure. But like, I love to be surrounded by people that I love.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that brings me so much joy. So I just decided to make small efforts in my physical health, and I started to really like dive into my friendships because yes. So, and obviously we have been friends for so long,
Ever.
right? Me, you, and Jocelyn, and
Middle
the
school.
slew of other people.
Ever.
But like, I would be lying if I said there weren't moments where I like backed away from those friendships, came closer to them.
Oh, me
away from
too.
those friendships, came closer to
absolutely. All of I
based
feel
on
like
what
all
I
of
was
us
feeling.
have.
Everybody
But
does.
that's ages and stages,
Yeah.
and that's growing. That's I think what I love about our friendship. Me, Nina, and Jocelyn are good friends, but we also have like a larger, really amazing group of friends. There's 7 of us. We've all been friends since middle school, and there have been times where things change. Like I went away to school, and during that time, I kind of pulled away a little bit, and whether I knew it or not, but it's because like my life was changing. I was going through a new phase. I was going through, all of us have done that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the important thing is we always came back together.
Yeah. We've
We
always stayed
knew-
connected.
Yeah, we were always
But
connected.
it was always at different levels.
Yes.
And at different times.
Yes. And we've all had just this strong bond that it's like, you could go for a few months. That's fine. I know you'll be back. Like, I know.
I know you'll be back.
I know you'll be back. I know you're going to miss me. But I think that that's also the security of our friendships too. Like, we're all very secure in our friendships. Although we do talk almost every day. If we didn't talk every day, I would not question anything, you know? And I know that you wouldn't either. And I think that's really hard with adult relationships and friendships now, especially with children and careers and lives, everything. Like, it's really, really hard to maintain those friendships. But I think that we all do a really good job of it.
Yeah. I don't think if I had, I mean, that's one area that in my life that I am so blessed is the girls that I have surrounded myself with. And the fact that I could be going through a difficult time, and even if I pull away a little bit, they don't walk away from me.
No,
because they know.
Or we like, we're like,
they're like, where are you going?
And I like, we like reel her in. They had to do that with me too. They reeled me right back in. Hello. You're at the sea.
Where do you think you're going?
Pull her back in. Let's go. You ain't going too far. We're not gonna let you get too far.
But it's so true. It's like we all go through our things, and knowing that I had my group of friends that no matter what area I was in my life was so helpful, because I didn't feel ashamed coming back into my friendships. Not that I ever left them truly, but coming back from my isolation period or feeling alone, right? I didn't feel like I had my tail between my legs, like, you guys are gonna
what are you guys doing?
What are you gonna tell me? I told you so, you know, like
no.
I never once felt like that. So, and that made it easier for me for me to focus on the important things, especially like having people that are just welcoming you back with like open arms. Like,
I completely agree.
I love you. So that was really important. So yeah, I mean, those little small things and just figuring out what I like for myself again and
putting yourself first.
Putting myself first.
And that's what I really love about Nina too, is that especially because, you know, we are so different. She's a mom of two. She owns her own business. She's doing all these amazing things. Like, I'm single, still trying to figure out certain things. Although our lives look so differently, like we are still so close. I feel like too, what's so great about Nina is that she does see and understand that and I think, like, because you said, like, for you to be the best mom that you can be, you personally have to be happy. Like, if you're not happy with yourself and in your life, it would be difficult to be the best mom for your kids, but also showing your kids that, like, you have a life, you have things outside of being a mom and other important things like your career and your business and your friendships. And so Nina, what I admire about her so much is that she is so good at balancing everything. She's a photographer and she photographs weddings and such. And it's, you know, obviously high time during spring, summer, fall. And even if she has one night off, she's either spending it with her kids or she's spending it with her friends, or she's finding those times to make sure that she's making time for everybody because she doesn't want to lose who she is at the core. I really admire that of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
well,
it's hard. I know it's not easy. It's very hard. So I admire that.
When you figure you spend so much time trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah.
And then to just like let that wash away would be such a disgrace.
Agreed.
I have spent so much time trying to figure out what actually makes me happy or what makes me tick or what makes me me. So there's a certain level of like individuality that I need 100%. To be successful. That's why I balance so well, is because I still find the things that make me and that make me happy and that replenish my cup so that I can pour my cup into other people's cups. Yeah. You know, so 100%. That's super important. I am not only a mom and I am not only a photographer and I'm not only a paralegal. I am me.
Yeah. You're everything.
I am everything.
And so the last thing that I want to talk about which I think would be a huge miss if we didn't, is the fact that you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You are you're a mom, you're freaking like she wakes up, she moms, she's a paralegal, she goes to the gym, she preps meals, she does all these things, like takes care of her home, takes care of her dogs, and she has time to run her own business. So
and have a whole new relationship.
And have a whole new relationship. So
which is a job.
Which is also a job in and of itself. I'm sure wouldn't know what that's like, but I'm just kidding.
Soon, baby, soon.
So I know that photography is a massive passion for you. I would love to just chat a little bit about, number one, what got you into photography, kind of how that has progressed for you, and what it's like to own your own business.
All right. Owning your own business is difficult. And it's only difficult because there is nobody telling you what to do. It's you just doing it and you having the discipline to do it, which doesn't come easy when you're going through depression or going through these things. So
the motivation, I'm sure, is so hard to find.
It's difficult. And like I had started my business in 2016, and during that time frame is when I was going through the hardest moments of my life. So finding a way to navigate as an entrepreneur and find the motivation to build a business while I was literally crumbling was difficult. So shout out to all of you business owners and self-employed people who are just working every day, regardless of how you feel and what's going on in your life. That's really a difficult thing to do. But yeah, I mean, it's also very rewarding, and I also didn't realize it at the time that I had started my business, because when I started my business, I was very like, I just like taking photos. Pictures. That was my focus. I was like, I like taking photos, and I've always liked taking photos. Yes. I started out shooting film when I was like 15. And Jocelyn was my first ever subject. Shout out to Jocelyn. So it kind of stemmed from there. But then as my business evolved and as I started to find out what I actually like about it, it goes back to who I am as a person, as an empathetic and compassionate person. Empathy, and obviously I didn't make the connection at the time, but the more I really got to work in my business and figure out why I liked wedding photography or why I liked, the certain photography that I liked. Obviously I dabbled in a lot of different fields. I like the connection that I have with my clients. That's taking photos is nice. It's beautiful. The art of it, it's great. Yeah. But I value the most the connection that I have with my subjects and with my clients and the relationship I get to build with them throughout the year or throughout the few months that I'm planning with them. And that's to say, I don't click with every single person that, comes in front of my camera, not all the time, but 95% of them, they become my BFFs for life. So I feel like the human interaction and the human experience of it is what keeps me there, is what I love the most about it. So yeah, I guess that's what keeps me ticking.
I love that. And how, I guess, did you progress through your photography journey? Like, where did you start to where are you now? Did you start in I don't know, portraits to this, to that, to
I started in family and children.
Okay.
So I started just photographing family and friends.
Yep.
My first engagement session ever was my friend Mandy and Billy.
Yeah, that's right.
Shout out Mandy and Billy. I was actually just looking at those photos the other day.
So cute.
So they were my first ever engagement session.
Awesome.
And I've just kind of bounced around. I photographed family and children for a little bit. I photographed newborn for a little bit. I did boudoir for a little bit.
Fun.
Super fancy. I still love it so much.
We got to do that.
I know, that would be really fun.
I'm a little nervous.
We'll get it done. And then I always kind of photograph couples, but was here and there with it. I think one year, maybe it was 2018, I decided I wanted to try weddings, really try them. So I just lined up a bunch of work with other photographers.
Awesome.
And learned.
Second shooting.
Yeah,
and
I took 2 years or so of learning. And then my first full year in business was 2020.
Oh.
The year of the pandemic.
The year when all social
of wedding
events
photography. So literally all of my weddings were canceled, and that was crazy. My first year as a wedding photographer, all of my weddings were canceled. So I was
you were giving birth to Nate.
And I had my son April 2020. So that was wild. But it's been wonderful since.
Thriving.
I'm thriving. And it's honestly just a really good experience, kind of just meeting new people. And I've met so many other artists and makeup artists and venues. And it's just been a very warming experience.
Yeah. So, okay, I kind of want to wrap up every piece of like our conversation tonight.
Ready to wrap.
So what would be, and it's going to be kind of like in the form of like a tip. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is like your number one tip for single moms?
Oh, gosh, there's one tip. I have so many.
I mean, say as many as you want. I'm so happy. We could do this all night.
Well, I would say if I was talking to any mom or single mom specifically, I would say number one, you are doing amazing, sweetie. Number two would be don't only focus on your children's happiness, because a lot of their happiness will come from your happiness. And it's really a hard concept for, I think, parents in general, not just single moms, parents in general, to realize that a lot of what is going to make your kids happy is what is making you happy. And we kind of internalize that and think that it's a selfish thing, but it's not.
No.
And we can only pour from a full cup. I know that's like cliche to say, but you really have to take care of yourself if you are going to be the best parent that you possibly can be to your kids. And just always keep them in mind in every decision that you make.
Yeah, I think also be gentle with yourself.
Be gentle with yourself.
But from what I've seen,
be gentle with yourself.
You're doing amazing.
You're doing the best you can.
Next would be, what is your number one tip when experiencing addiction around you?
That's really hard, actually. Oh, man, I would say my number one tip would be to make sure that you find the line between offering support and not really enabling, but you have to find the line between yourself and that person.
Yeah. And I would say, just from our experience and seeing you, just understanding your responsibility.
Yes.
You have
to know where your limits are.
Yeah.
In caring for and being there for somebody that is struggling with addiction, because it can be incredibly damaging to your own mental as well as it is already damaging for them. So I think finding that balance between offering support but still taking care of yourself.
Yep.
Because it's very, very easy to lose yourself in trying to support someone because you think you can take on the world for them. Mm-hmm. And then you end up destroying yourself in the process. So I think that it's really important to find that balance and make sure that you are still taking care of yourself first and foremost.
Awesome. And then last, number one tip for an entrepreneur. Someone with a new business or starting their business.
That's easy for me. Just go out and do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. I don't care what it is.
Believe in yourself and do it.
Hashtag believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
Really, it just comes down to taking the step. I mean, there's not everything is going to work out. That's just the way it is. Not everything will work out, but like maybe it will. But you won't ever know if it's going to work out unless you actually take that step forward.
Yeah.
So I think that if you have an interest in something and you want to learn something or you want to just give it a go, I think the best thing that you can do is just go for it.
I agree. And I feel like it would be like, don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, but what if I fail? But what if you don't?
But what if you don't? It's true.
What if you don't? It could be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Just take the chance on yourself. Believe in yourself.
It can't be incredible unless you give it a chance.
Unless you try. All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps up this episode. Nina, thank you so much for coming on and being so open and vulnerable with your story. I really appreciate it. I know everybody else really appreciates it. I am so inspired by you, and I'm so grateful and blessed that you are one of my best friends and that I can see your strength and your journey and everything. So thank you so much for coming on. So excited. I love you so much. All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you could do me a huge favor, Either rate or like, subscribe, share this podcast with your family and friends, comment. It goes such a long way. I would really appreciate it. We want to share this podcast with as many people as possible to continue this healing journey together and start talking about some of these things that a lot of us are dealing with and no one's talking about. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like some of these topics on, mental health and being a single mom or dating narcissists or whatever it is. We just want to keep this healing journey going. And I want you to know that you're not alone and that we are all here with you. So thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. Stay pretty. Bye, guys.